Hi there, I am Lindsey Whitney and I am your local real estate agent here in Melbourne, Florida. And today we are talking about kickout clauses. So what is a kickout clause, you ask? Well, that's a great question. We are seeing more and more kickout clauses as the market shifts. A kickout clause sounds like a really big, scary thing, but it's really not. It's an addendum that we use when a selling contingency is presented to a seller. So here's how it works. You're a buyer, you make an offer on the property, but you have a house that needs to sell in order to close on a new house. Sounds like a lot, I know, it's because it is. There's a lot of moving parts. So when you make the offer on the new house, you're going to add a selling contingency, which means that your contract on the new house does not have to close unless the house that you're selling closes. A counter to a selling contingency is typically a kickout clause. And this is why I want to talk about it, because the name kickout clause gives it a bad rap. It's a big misconception that the buyer gets kicked out of the contract that they're in, and it's just not the case. Here's what happens. The listing agent and the seller are going to counter your offer and say, we'll accept your selling contingency, but we want to add in a kickout clause. It's an addendum to the contract, and it gives the seller the opportunity to continue to market their house for another offer. And you think, oh, well, that's really scary. I don't want them to market their house for another offer. That's going to be my house. Well, I understand your train of thought. However, because you have a selling contingency, the seller could have their house off the market for 20, 30, 45 days, depending on the terms of the contract. And if your deal falls through, you can't close. So it's a lot of risk on the seller side. So this helps minimize their risk. So if another offer were to come through, then you as the buyer at that time have the opportunity to decide if you want to stay in the contract, drop the contingencies that are left in your current contract and move forward to closing. Or if you want to leave the contract, you'll get your escrow deposit back and you go find another house. So you're not being kicked out. The ball is actually moved to the buyer's court. The buyer gets to make the decision, do I want to stay in or do I want to leave? And that decision is based on the totality of where you're at in the selling process with your house. So if you're through inspections, you're close to loan approval, it might be best to drop the contingencies and move forward to closing. If your house isn't even under contract yet, you might opt to back out and find something else. Who knows how the outcome comes, but that is the big misconception, is that the buyer's kicked out and doesn't have choices or options, and it's just not true. The way that the wording of the contract is written is that the buyer has the choice, and you actually get 3 days to make that decision. So this is how it's written. I'm not an attorney, just going through what our contract says. If you've got more questions on what a kickout clause is, feel free to DM us, call us, text us, whatever you're comfortable with. We're happy to answer any additional questions. If you like the content that we're sharing, we would love for you to share it with your friends. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We would love for you to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.